This is a little bit of a follow-up because I wanted to explain to people exactly why I, for a long time, have had my doubts with science. Is some of what they say true? Yeah, sure. But there's no way that they've ever been, that with all the studies they've done on Alcoholics Anonymous, they base it all on the literature, okay? Because they can't really actually do a study, not unless they're using court records, like where somebody's mandated to go. And that's not a fair group to make into some control group and all that. It's not, because as I said, you have to be desperate enough to come to AA, not be coming there just to get you out of going to jail. Not to say that it can't help, I'm just saying that that's not a good pool to draw from. So much of what the science does is it's all based on the big book, the 12 and 12 book, which is a breakdown of each step, and their literature. That's where they gather their evidence and write their abstract and background and conclusions from. There's no way, it's not legit. And again, because they went to universities that taught them there is no God and everything is based on what man of this world says, they will always come to the wrong conclusions of AA. But there's one simple fact that remains, that the science will still continue to try to destroy AA, because I think that's what their goal has been. I really do. Because the science is so limited in their thinking. The very fact that they think everything is based on what man of this world says, and that's always evidence just because somebody with all the letters after their name said so, that just shows it's not reasonable to believe that. Because that's not evidence. You telling me doesn't make it evidence. But AA's been around for 85 years. In 2020, 85 years. The fact that it continues to be around and has grown, well, that's a success right there. It says here, this is based on this article. It was a celebration to the legacy of Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, who were both alcoholics. And yes, they found each other, and it was through talking with each other that it helped them. Then they went on to write the steps. And here's the thing, all the people that want to argue about it being religious, no, it's just based on Sermon on the Mount. There's anybody on the planet that has a problem with Sermon on the Mount, like if you're Obama, because he's ripped on Sermon on the Mount. That just shows who he is. Just isn't a good person, because there's nothing wrong with Sermon on the Mount. It's a beautiful piece of the Bible. But AA was launched, a program that has saved millions of lives over the last 85 years. Millions of lives. How is that not evidence? And what they really will not focus on is the spiritual malady. I have yet to read in any paper that's scientifically based that the condition, because it says it in the big book, the condition of the alcoholic is the spiritual malady. So that has always shown me that the science is biased or flawed, or it's because of their limited thinking. So this was one of your expert papers, okay, and says the AA is between 5 and 10% success rate. I call bullshit. Yeah, it wouldn't have the long-going history that it does if that was true. No. Bill Wilson himself, one of the founders, said, I forget, it was obviously before he died, but back maybe in the 50s, I can't remember, but he said it's like a 50% success rate. And again, you can't count somebody, it didn't work, they relapsed. Many people will just turn around. I had a relapse after like 2 years. And many times it's because you get away from the things you need to, such as praying. Because really, the relapse of an alcoholic, before the drink is picked up, it happens like months before that. Like you stop praying, you stop doing a bunch of things that you're supposed to do, especially with getting with God, staying in touch with God daily. That's usually how it starts. And then Yeah, so this idea that, because otherwise, therapy, if it was just behavior change, therapy would have worked. No, this is a God intervention. That's what happens. And it all makes sense, because that's where God, I've said for a long time, AA is like the greatest church of miracles, where you'll see miracles take place. You will. Because you go and you'll see somebody that you see regularly that's new, and you get to know, and you see them change over time, this slow transformation that takes place. And that's what happens to everybody, and they don't realize it. And then one day it hits them, and it's like, that's that burning bush moment, that spiritual awakening moment. It's like, wait a minute, I didn't do this. I didn't do that because I didn't set out to do any of this. So the science, because they don't believe in God, that's where their thinking is limited. And if this world and the higher educated want to continue to stand on some pedestal of what man says, and never realize that, yes, God plays an important role in this world, and you can ignore him all you want. But eventually, well, God's going to make you look pretty stupid, because he gets tired of science trying to tell the world that they know better than what God does. This same article also went on to say that it's harmful. That's how badly the science has always, I don't care what any doctor thinks, I don't care what anybody, I know it, I've read enough of their papers about this. The science wants to destroy AA, and I will tell you one reason why. Because it's God that's the intervention. And if God's the intervention for that, then think about how he can be an intervention for many things. This world just doesn't want you to think along those lines. This world just wants you to believe man and experts. But this really was disturbing that they wrote this. But it's harmful to the 90% who don't do well. So they'd say it's this lie about its 5 to 10% success rate, but harmful to the 90% who don't do well. And it's harmful for several important reasons. One of them is that everyone believes that AA is the right treatment. AA is never wrong according to AA. If you fail in AA, it's that you failed. I've never heard anybody say that. Never. Science making stuff up again, or who knows who they're talking to. No, it's just the only form of success that's ever. I've seen these different treatments come in, not just medication-wise, but years ago, a couple decades, Susan Powers and eating right and this, and it's not, no, because it's a transformation that is done from the inside out that not even therapy can do. And there's not answers for it. And the science won't get to those answers, but they keep banging their head. And then because I think some of them probably realize it is some spiritual thing that's going on, they then start to want to bash it. And they go as far as to talk about it being harmful. No, it's not harmful. There's nothing harmful about it unless you don't want it. And some people don't want to get sober. Or they don't reach the desperation stage enough. So they also say that one size doesn't fit all. No, it doesn't. But there's not there's not any other thing that's successful. I've seen people that with the drugs they have out there, they end up drinking, because you have what AA does, and it's not AA, it's God, is it's addressing everything, all of it, and it takes a lot of the steps to guide you through it, the whole thing. So I think that we would become a more mature and expert society if experts realized they're not experts, and that they shouldn't be doing papers in any way about God because of their own bias and their own limited thinking.